The sky tore open in streaks of green lightning, and the colony shook beneath the thunder of distant explosions. Marcus Vale crouched behind a crumbled wall, his hands gripping the scorched rifle like it could save them all. Smoke and dust choked the canyon, and the screams of civilians echoed through the hollow streets. The alien swarm was relentless, moving with deadly precision, their bodies glinting like shards of living metal. Each step they took left scorched marks on the ground, and every pulse of their strange energy made Marcus' teeth clench in anticipation. "Move! Evacuate to the canyon rim," he shouted over the chaos. His voice carried authority born of desperation. Behind him, families stumbled, children clinging to their parents, terrified eyes darting at the shadows that seemed alive. Marcus grabbed a young boy by the arm and dragged him into a narrow passage as one of the alien drones zipped past, missing them by inches. Sparks sprayed from its body and the boy gasped, eyes wide. Marcus forced a tight smile. "You'll be safe. Keep moving." A sudden flash of violet light caught his eye. From the debris a creature emerged. It floated, almost weightless, its body shimmering with translucent facets that refracted the storm around it. Marcus froze. It was unlike any life he had ever seen, part crystal, part flesh, and yet, it radiated awareness, watching him with glowing, intelligent eyes. The boy tugged at his sleeve. "What is that?" "I don't know," Marcus admitted, but he didn't take his eyes off it. The creature pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat. Then, with a sudden jerk, it darted toward the open square and the alien swarm followed, not toward the colony, but straight at it. Marcus' brow furrowed. That wasn't supposed to happen. Why were the drones ignoring the humans? The answer came in the next horrifying moment. From the center of the swarm, a massive shape rose. Towering, jagged, and alien, the dreadnought's surface shimmered with strange energy. Its multi-limbed form cracked the air as it prepared to strike, but the crystal creature positioned itself in front of it. A pulse of violet energy shot from the creature, hitting the dreadnought like lightning. Sparks flew, and the massive alien froze, thrashing violently before retreating back into the storm. Marcus blinked, his mouth dry. The creature had just stopped the swarm from attacking them. No one had time to process it. Marcus shouted orders, moving quickly to gather the remaining survivors. His mind raced. The canyon rim was 30 meters above, and they had no lift equipment. He spotted a collapsed freight container half buried in rubble. With a push, he rolled it toward the makeshift ramp. Civilians helped him, the tension sharp in every strained muscle. Every second counted. A swarm drone landed on the container, its claws sparking against metal. Marcus fired, precise shots cracking through the metal plating. The drone toppled into the dust with a shriek, but more were coming. He didn't have time to reload carefully. Ducking behind a wall fragment, he grabbed a chemical flare and hurled it at a nearby cluster of drones. The explosion forced them back, giving the civilians a chance to climb. His small tactic worked. A tiny win, but it mattered. At the top of the ramp, Marcus turned to the boy he had saved. "Go. Keep climbing." The child scrambled, but a larger drone lunged at him. Marcus dived, grabbing the boy's arm and rolling aside just as the creature in the square emitted another pulse. Sparks rained down and the drone was vaporized. Marcus' heart hammered. He had no idea if the creature was friendly or deadly, but in that instant, it was their only chance. As the last families made it to the rim, Marcus scanned the horizon. More of the swarm were arriving faster than before. The alien dreadnought was rising again, its jagged form casting long shadows in the storm. The crystal creature floated closer, pulsing urgently. It was almost as if it wanted him to follow. Marcus hesitated, weighing the lives below against the strange being's silent command. His gut screamed trust and his hands were steady. He nodded to the boy. "Stay here. Don't move." Marcus ran down the slope toward the creature, dodging debris and plasma bursts. Each step was a gamble. One miscalculation could mean death. The creature stopped at a narrow canyon path, and Marcus realized the swarm was blocking every other route. His mind raced. He had no weapons capable of defeating the dreadnought, no reinforcements, only instinct and courage. Then, just as he reached the creature, a massive rumble shook the ground. The canyon wall beside them collapsed, sending boulders crashing toward them. Marcus dove forward, pressing against the creature. The rocks shattered around them, some grazing his armor. The creature pulsed violently, and a wave of energy erupted from it, halting the falling debris in midair. Marcus scrambled to his feet, eyes wide. This being, it was saving him, but why? The storm above intensified. Alien shapes circled like vultures, and the dreadnought's shadow stretched over the canyon rim. Marcus gritted his teeth. One human soldier, alone, facing impossible odds, but he wouldn't back down. Not when hope was gone. Not when survival depended on courage, speed, and trust in the unknown. A sudden, piercing scream echoed from the top of the canyon. Marcus' head snapped up. The boy? Or something else? His pulse spiked. The crystal creature pulsed brighter than ever, as if warning him. Something was coming, bigger than the swarm, and this time it wasn't waiting. Marcus clenched his fists. His jaw set. Whatever came next, he would face it. And then, a shadow darker than the storm itself fell across the canyon, blotting out the lightning. Marcus pressed himself against the jagged rock as the shadow passed overhead. The air shook with a deep, unnatural hum. He looked up. The dreadnought, bigger than anything he had imagined, descended slowly, its massive limbs clicking and whirring as if calculating every move. The alien swarm around it grew sharper, faster, more coordinated. Each drone seemed linked, their eyes glowing in a terrifying, synchronized pattern. Marcus' breath came fast. The canyon rim, where civilians huddled, looked impossibly far. Every second was a gamble. The crystal creature pulsed urgently, bouncing slightly toward Marcus as if insisting he follow. He glanced at the boy hiding behind a boulder. "Stay put," he shouted, though the words barely carried over the roar of the storm. He sprinted toward the creature, dodging falling debris and lightning strikes that struck the ground with deadly precision. Sparks danced on the canyon walls and dust filled his mouth. One wrong step, one misjudged move, and it would be over. The creature floated ahead, guiding him through narrow passages the swarm couldn't reach. Marcus noticed strange symbols etched into the canyon walls, lines of glowing script that shimmered when the creature passed. His mind raced. Were these warnings? A map? Or traps set long ago? He had no time to consider. Every second the dreadnought remained above was a threat to the civilians below. Suddenly, a drone dropped from the sky, its claws snapping toward him. Marcus fired his rifle, but the bullets ricocheted harmlessly off its metallic body. Thinking fast, he grabbed a loose pipe from the canyon floor and swung it with all his strength. It connected with a sharp clang. Sparks flew. The drone shrieked, toppled into the dust, and exploded in a small flare. Marcus staggered back, heart pounding. That tiny victory gave him a surge of hope, a reminder that even against impossible odds, human ingenuity mattered. He reached a small cavern, the creature hovering just inside. The walls hummed with energy. Marcus could feel it in his bones, something alive, ancient, and powerful. The crystal pulsed faster, then shot a beam toward a cluster of rocks, splitting them to reveal a hidden chamber. Inside, Marcus glimpsed alien machinery, gears and tubes humming with unknown power. His eyes widened. This could be the key. If he could understand it, maybe he could fight back, maybe he could protect the civilians. "Marcus," he whispered to himself, heart hammering, "think. Quick." He knelt, examining the devices. Symbols on the walls seemed to correspond with glowing nodes on the machinery. Hesitantly, he pressed a node. The chamber hummed louder, lights flickered, and a beam shot up toward the canyon rim. Outside, the swarm reacted instantly, changing direction, surging toward the newly activated energy field. Marcus' eyes narrowed. He had drawn their attention away from the civilians, even if only briefly. Another small win. The creature floated beside him, pulsing in rapid succession. Marcus studied it. It wasn't attacking. It was signaling. He realized it was intelligent, maybe even capable of communication, but in a way he had never encountered. "Okay," he said aloud, a tinge of desperation in his voice. "Let's figure this out, fast." From above, the dreadnought roared, its limbs smashing canyon walls, sending dust and boulders plummeting toward Marcus. He ducked behind the machinery just in time. The creature shot a pulse of energy, intercepting a falling boulder midair, shattering it into harmless fragments. Marcus felt his chest tighten. This being, whatever it was now his only ally against a force that should have been unstoppable. He grabbed a panel from the alien machinery, twisting knobs, pressing symbols in sequence as the creature pulsed alongside him. The cavern began to vibrate, and a holographic map projected into the air, a network of tunnels and alien structures beneath the planet. Marcus realized the swarm was not attacking randomly. They were herding him toward something deep underground. A sudden tremor shook the cavern floor. Dust and small rocks rained down, and one of the tunnels collapsed partially, blocking the exit. Marcus' heart sank. He had only moments. With a quick glance at the creature, he understood. They had no choice but to move deeper. Trust the unknown or die here. He grabbed a makeshift weapon from his belt, a plasma flare, and pressed it against the machinery's control panel. Lights flashed and a soft vibration ran through the cavern. The creature pulsed in agreement, leading him through a narrow passage just as the dust settled. Outside, the swarm surged again, but now their movement was erratic. Marcus realized he had temporarily disrupted their coordination. Another small victory. At the end of the passage, Marcus paused. The cavern opened into a vast chamber, dark except for the creature's glow. The floor shimmered with strange liquid, and massive columns stretched toward the ceiling, crackling with energy. The dreadnought's shadow passed over the entrance, blocking all light. Marcus felt the weight of impossible odds pressing down. Civilians, the boy, and every life in the canyon depended on his next move. The crystal creature floated forward, pulsing faster, almost frantic. Marcus swallowed, feeling a mix of fear and determination. He reached out to touch a glowing console on the chamber wall. Immediately, the entire network hummed, lights arcing across the chamber like a living circuit. Outside, the alien swarm recoiled slightly, confusion spreading through their ranks. Marcus' mind raced. One bold move could change everything, or trigger total destruction. Then a deafening roar shook the chamber, far louder than the storm above. The dreadnought's massive form appeared in the cave's entrance. Its eyes glowed red, scanning. Marcus froze. Every instinct screamed danger. The crystal creature pulsed violently, and in a sudden burst of light, it shot a beam straight at the dreadnought's eyes, forcing it to retreat slightly. Marcus' heart skipped. He realized the creature was trying to protect him, maybe even guide him toward some greater purpose. Marcus clenched his fists. His mind was clear. He had a plan, a tiny chance, and an ally unlike anything in the universe. But the dreadnought wasn't done. Its shadow fell heavier. The next move would decide everything. A tremor ran through the chamber. Something moved beneath the floor, a deep, rumbling vibration that made the walls shake. Marcus' pulse raced. The dreadnought wasn't just attacking. Something else was awakening. And then the cavern floor cracked open, a jagged chasm splitting the ground between him and the creature. The chasm yawned beneath Marcus, jagged and glowing with strange energy. Sparks danced along the fractured floor, and the ground quaked as if the planet itself was waking. The crystal creature floated just beyond the split, pulsing frantically. Marcus took a deep breath, heart pounding, and leapt. His boots struck the edge of the other side. Dust and shards of rock tumbled into the abyss below. He rolled, narrowly avoiding a surge of plasma energy that shot up from the crack. Behind him, the dreadnought's limbs slammed into the cavern floor, shaking loose more debris. It loomed larger than ever, its glowing red eyes scanning, calculating. Marcus could hear the creatures from the swarm adjusting their positions, herding toward the chamber's exits. He realized they were trying to trap him, to drive him toward the crack. But the crystal creature pulsed again, a soft, rhythmic pulse that seemed to say, "This way." Marcus crouched and scanned the cavern walls. Symbols etched into the columns glimmered as if responding to the creature's energy. Something ancient was alive here. A network of tubes and gears stretched deep into the floor, humming with power. He recognized it, not fully but enough. This was not just alien technology. It was old beyond memory, a machine designed to manipulate life itself. If he could control it, maybe he could turn the odds. He grabbed a lever jutting from a nearby wall and yanked it. The columns shuddered. Energy arcs shot through the chamber, momentarily forcing the dreadnought back. Sparks and dust filled the air, and Marcus coughed, but his pulse surged with hope. That small action, one human decision, had made the impossible waver. The crystal creature pulsed brighter, floating closer. Marcus hesitated, then placed his hand against its shimmering surface. An almost electric warmth flowed into him. Images flashed in his mind. Tunnels beneath the planet, hidden machinery, a signal reaching into space. The creature was showing him the path to control the technology, the key to survival. It was not communicating with words but with insight. Marcus' jaw tightened. He understood. He had to activate it fully, but he had no idea what would happen. A sudden screech split the air. The dreadnought lunged, smashing a column into the floor. Marcus rolled aside as dust and shards flew. The creature pulsed urgently, guiding him through a narrow passage he hadn't noticed before. He sprinted, dodging plasma bursts from the swarm, the machinery's hum now vibrating in his chest. They emerged into a secondary chamber, walls lined with massive crystals, vibrating with energy. Marcus' eyes widened. The place radiated power unimaginable, like the planet itself had a heartbeat. He rushed to the largest crystal, placing both hands on its smooth, glowing surface. The chamber lit up. Energy arcs surged, weaving a pattern across the floor and ceiling. Marcus felt the pulse of the machinery. A holographic map projected into the air, showing the entire planet and tunnels spreading across miles. But at the center, a bright red node pulsed violently. That was the core, the hive, the command center for the swarm. Marcus' mind raced. One move here could cripple the swarm entirely, or trigger planetary destruction. He glanced at the creature, which pulsed rapidly. It wasn't just signaling. It was urging him, now. Marcus nodded. He pressed a combination of symbols etched into the wall, following the pattern the creature had guided him toward. The energy in the chamber surged, resonating with the crystal columns. Outside, the dreadnought roared. Its limbs smashed more rocks into the cavern, shaking loose dust. Marcus gritted his teeth. Hold together, he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The chamber shook violently as energy shot from the crystals, spreading into the tunnels. The swarm faltered. Drones collided midair, caught in pulses they couldn't navigate. A small victory but fleeting. Suddenly the floor beneath him shivered. A low, guttural rumble grew louder. The chasm from before widened rapidly, revealing a hidden network beneath the planet. A city of alien machines dormant for centuries. Marcus' eyes widened. This wasn't just a hive. It was a lost civilization, buried beneath Xiphora Prime, awakening because of his actions. His pulse spiked. Every instinct screamed danger. The dreadnought froze at the cavern entrance. Something beneath it stirred. Sparks and energy arcs shot upward, striking the creature beside Marcus. He grabbed it instinctively, pulling it back just as a column of light exploded from the floor. The swarm scattered, confused. Marcus' mind raced. He had not only disrupted the immediate attack, he had woken something much larger. A wave of realization hit him. This machinery, the tunnels, the creature, it was all connected. The swarm was only one part of a bigger system, and his actions had triggered the core. But if he controlled it, if he could align his instincts with the crystal's guidance, he might not just survive. He might turn the tide of the war entirely. Marcus' hands shook slightly, but his eyes were steady. We can do this, he said aloud to the creature, to himself, to everyone who might be listening beyond this chamber. He pressed another set of symbols, this time with more precision, following the pattern revealed by the creature. Energy shot through the chamber, weaving through tunnels and striking the swarm's network. Drones screamed in disarray, colliding and crashing. Marcus exhaled sharply. A micro payoff. One human had disrupted a force that should have been unstoppable. Then a deeper tremor hit. The ground beneath the core pulsed. Lights flickered across the tunnels, and Marcus realized with a sudden chill, the planet itself was reacting. The lost civilization, the hive, the dreadnought, they were all awake. And whatever had slumbered for eons beneath Xiphora Prime was now aware of him. The crystal creature pulsed violently, its glow bright enough to light the chamber. Marcus felt the energy in his chest, felt the surge of possibility. One final move could either save everyone, or trigger something he could not imagine. He clenched his fists. His eyes met the glowing core, and for the first time he smiled, not with relief but with determination. And then, a massive rumble split the air, louder than any storm or explosion he had ever felt. From the depths of the newly awakened tunnels, something enormous began to rise. The ground shook violently as the ancient core awakened, sending tremors through the chamber. Dust and shards of crystal rained down, and the cavern's hum became a deafening roar. Marcus staggered, gripping the crystal creature for balance. Its glow flickered wildly, pulsing like a frantic heartbeat. From below, a massive shadow rose, stretching across the walls, blocking the faint light filtering through the canyon cracks. The dreadnought and swarm now seemed small compared to the vast, slithering form that emerged from the depths. Marcus' chest tightened. The thing rising from below was unlike any swarm or machine he had seen. An alien leviathan, part organic, part crystalline, towering in size, its surface covered in pulsating veins of energy. Each movement shook the floor. Its multiple eyes glowed red, scanning the cavern with cold intelligence. The crystal creature beside Marcus flared brightly, sending a pulse of energy that rippled through the cavern, momentarily pushing the leviathan back. No time to hesitate, Marcus muttered. He scanned the alien machinery around him. The energy nodes were glowing, connected to the tunnels beneath the planet. If he could activate them fully, he might have a chance to control or repel the leviathan. He tore a panel off the wall, exposing wires and conduits, and began manually redirecting the energy flow. Sparks flew, arcs of electricity crackled, and the cavern vibrated with power. Every second counted. The dreadnought lunged, smashing through a crystal column and sending shards flying toward Marcus. He rolled aside, grabbing a loose metal rod and thrusting it into a conduit. The rod conducted energy toward the chamber's floor, causing arcs to leap and strike the dreadnought, staggering it backward. The human ingenuity had bought him a fraction of time, but it wasn't enough. The Leviathan struck the floor and a shockwave threw Marcus off his feet. He rolled, teeth gritting, and scrambled toward the creature. The crystal being pulsed in response, forming a barrier of radiant energy that shielded Marcus from debris. "I've got to finish this," he thought, adrenaline surging. Sweat ran down his face, his lungs burned, but he pressed on, following the energy patterns he had glimpsed in Part 3. Outside, the swarm had regrouped. Thousands of drones surged toward the canyon rim, cutting off escape for the civilians. Marcus' mind raced. He needed a plan to protect the innocents and buy himself time to complete the energy sequence. He grabbed a fallen container, rigging it as a makeshift energy conduit. Sparks leapt from it, forming a temporary barrier, blocking the swarm's advance. Civilians screamed as drones collided with the barrier, giving them precious seconds to climb higher. Small victories but crucial. The Leviathan roared, shaking the cavern like a quake. Marcus realized that direct combat was impossible. He had no chance of destroying it with conventional weapons. Only one option remained: align the crystal's energy with the core, amplify it, and force the Leviathan to retreat. He dove toward the main crystal, pressing his hands against the surface. Pain shot through his arms as energy surged into him, but he ignored it. His mind focused, instincts honed over years of combat guiding him. The crystal creature floated above, pulsing in rhythm with Marcus' heart. Together, they channeled energy into the cavern's machinery. Light arcs shot through tunnels, striking the Leviathan. It shrieked, staggering but not yet defeated. Marcus adjusted the nodes, redirecting more energy toward its weak points. The dreadnought screeched and lunged, but Marcus anticipated it, triggering a series of cascading pulses that knocked it off balance. Suddenly, the cavern floor cracked further, and a wave of energy erupted from the core, striking the Leviathan directly. Its roar became a shriek, echoing through the planet. Energy rippled through its body, and the swarm faltered, losing coordination. Marcus felt every pulse, every shock of the planet's awakening. The crystal creature pulsed in triumph, guiding him further. He pressed his hands harder against the crystal, muscles screaming, sweat and blood mixing as arcs of energy wrapped around his arms. The Leviathan reared, preparing one final strike. Marcus made a decision. He plunged the last energy conduit directly into the crystal core. A brilliant explosion of light filled the chamber, momentarily blinding him. The ground shook violently and the sound was deafening, but when his vision cleared, the Leviathan was retreating, its massive form pulling back into the tunnels below. The dreadnought collapsed beside it, defeated. The swarm scattered, disoriented, no longer coordinated. Marcus dropped to his knees, breathing hard, pain and exhaustion mingling with relief. The crystal creature floated beside him, pulsing softly. It had protected him, guided him, and together they had turned the impossible tide. He looked around. Civilians were climbing safely along the canyon rim, aided by the makeshift barriers he had rigged. The boy he had saved in Part 1 waved at him, eyes wide with awe. Marcus gave a tired smile, though he knew the battle had left scars, not just on the planet but on everyone who had survived. Then a low rumble echoed from the depths. Marcus froze. His pulse spiked. The core, though subdued, was still active. Something beneath Xiphora Prime had awakened fully, something the crystal creature had hinted at but never fully revealed. Its glow shifted, pulsing in a pattern Marcus didn't understand. He realized this victory, though hard one, was only temporary. The universe had just shown him a glimpse of a far larger challenge. Marcus clenched his fists, rising to his feet despite exhaustion. "We survived this," he whispered, voice steady, eyes burning with determination. "But there's more coming. And we'll face it. Together." The crystal creature pulsed in agreement, hovering closer as if acknowledging their bond. Humans had survived what should have been impossible. Humanity had shined. Outside, the storm had quieted slightly. The canyon rim glimmered with faint light, but above, distant shadows hinted that the galaxy itself was far from safe. Marcus scanned the horizon, knowing that reinforcements might arrive, but the true test was yet to come. He had disrupted the swarm, defeated the dreadnought, and survived the Leviathan. Yet beneath Xiphora Prime, something ancient still stirred, waiting, watching. A sudden vibration beneath his feet made Marcus' heart race. The crystal creature pulsed violently, more urgently than before. A faint glow appeared deep in the tunnels, far larger than the Leviathan, stretching in size, impossible to comprehend. Marcus swallowed hard, understanding that his actions had awakened something far greater than the swarm, far greater than the dreadnought. He took a deep breath. "Then we'll fight it too," he said aloud, voice steady and resolute. The crystal creature pulsed in rhythm with his words, and a surge of energy rippled through the chamber. Marcus' eyes met the glowing tunnels, determination blazing. Humanity would not back down. And then a colossal shadow rose from the depths, filling the cavern entirely. The colossal shadow filled the cavern, stretching from the jagged floor to the ceiling high above. Marcus' pulse raced, but he refused to kneel in fear. His arms ached, his clothes were scorched and sweat stung his eyes, but he was still standing. The crystal creature floated beside him, pulsing steadily as if reinforcing his resolve. Whatever had risen from the depths was enormous, ancient, and intelligent. But Marcus had learned one thing in the past hours: humans adapted and humans endured. He focused on the glowing tunnels beneath the Leviathan. Energy rippled through the alien machinery, synchronized with the crystal's pulses. He realized the creature hadn't just been protecting him, it had been teaching him how to channel the planet's dormant energy. One precise action could amplify the system, redirect the force, and create a shield that even the Leviathan could not breach. Marcus grabbed the largest energy conduit nearby. Sparks arced across the cavern as he aligned it with the core, sweat dripping down his face. Every muscle screamed with strain, but his mind was clear. One misstep and he could obliterate the entire canyon, and everyone he had fought so hard to save. He gritted his teeth and pressed the conduit into place. The core pulsed violently, and the cavern shook like the planet itself had exhaled. The Leviathan lunged forward, massive claws tearing through the chamber walls. Marcus' vision blurred from dust and energy arcs. He remembered the boy from the canyon rim, the families he had saved, every life depending on him. He shouted, voice raw with determination, "We fight for them. For all of us." The crystal pulsed brighter, synchronizing with his heartbeat. Energy surged outward, flowing through tunnels, striking the Leviathan. It shrieked in frustration, staggering as the force overwhelmed its massive form. The dreadnought collapsed beside it, sparking and twitching as the redirected energy struck its circuits. The swarm drones scrambled, no longer coordinated. For the first time, Marcus realized the sheer power of human decisiveness combined with intelligence and courage. One person could change the outcome, even against forces that seemed impossible. The cavern trembled again. A wave of energy shot upward, sealing cracks in the walls and stabilizing the floor. Marcus fell to his knees, gasping for breath, but relief surged through him. The Leviathan, now struggling to rise, let out a final, frustrated roar before retreating into the depths from which it had emerged. Silence settled over the cavern, broken only by the faint hum of the machinery and the soft pulsing of the crystal creature. Marcus looked around. Civilians were safe. The boy he had saved in Part 1 waved from the canyon rim, their eyes wide with awe and gratitude. Tears threatened, but he forced them back. He had done more than survive. He had protected life, disrupted a deadly alien swarm, and confronted a force that should have ended humanity's foothold on this planet. Humans had shown against impossible odds. The crystal creature hovered before him, pulsing with a calm, almost proud rhythm. Marcus knelt, placing a hand on its shimmering surface. A flood of images filled his mind: the tunnels beneath Xiphora Prime, the vast network of ancient machinery, and distant points of energy that seemed to stretch across the galaxy. The creature had shown him that the Leviathan and Swarm were only part of a far larger network. A force that slept in silence, waiting. Marcus straightened. "I understand now," he said, voice firm. "This isn't just about this battle. It's about preparing for what comes next. We survived today, but tomorrow we have to be ready for everything." The crystal pulsed in agreement, a subtle warmth spreading through Marcus' chest. He realized that humans weren't just survivors, they were innovators, fighters, guardians. The galaxy had underestimated them, but that would never happen again. He climbed to the canyon rim to check on the civilians. The storm had abated, leaving shards of crystal glinting in the weak sunlight. Families huddled together, expressions of fear slowly giving way to relief. The boy ran up to him, his small hands gripping Marcus' armor. "You saved us," he said, voice trembling. Marcus knelt, smiling despite the exhaustion. "No," he said gently. "We saved each other. That's what humans do." The canyon remained eerily quiet. Marcus' eyes scanned the horizon. The dreadnought was destroyed, the swarm scattered, and the Leviathan had retreated, but deep below the planet the machinery still hummed with potential energy. The crystal creature pulsed faintly, a silent reminder that while this battle was won, the universe held challenges far greater than this moment. Marcus turned back to the crystal. "Rest for now," he said. "We'll need you again." It hovered close, pulsing one last time before drifting back toward the tunnels, disappearing from view. He felt a surge of hope. Humanity had survived what should have been impossible. And yet the galaxy was vast. Unknown forces waited. But Marcus' heart was steady. Humans were clever, courageous, and unyielding. They would meet whatever came next with intelligence, bravery, and resilience. The sun broke through the clouds above, casting light across the canyon. Dust settled on the jagged rocks, glinting like tiny stars. Marcus took a deep breath. The battle had ended, but the war, and the mysteries beneath Xiphora Prime, had only just begun. He looked at the horizon, determination blazing. Whatever lay ahead, humanity would rise. Humans always did. And far below, deep within the tunnels, a faint glow pulsed. Something ancient had awakened fully. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity's courage was only the beginning. Deep beneath Xiphora Prime, something ancient and powerful now watches Marcus and the humans. A greater mystery and threat awaits, one that could challenge the galaxy itself. Humanity's journey has only begun.